Happy rails to you. Welcome back, my friends. Happy rails to you. It's good to see you again. Thanks for watching the channel and the videos. Sometimes they go real fast and sometimes they're slow. Happy rails to you. Glad you're watching in. Well, hello, everybody. This is G-Man, My World 67. Welcome aboard and welcome back. Well, what you're looking at is a 1932, I believe, Great Western Railroad #2 loco. And this is a Hornby shell. And I've decided to go ahead and do a couple of Hornby projects, as I haven't done any for about a year or so. And I really want to start getting my Hornby engines up and going, getting me some Hornby trains running. And so it's custom conversion, as with all or most of my Hornby engines. We're going to take this Hornby shell. We're going to put a Marx motor, of course, in it. And let's get started, shall we? Well, so far, I've got this Hornby shell, and I've got the Marx motor I'm going to use. Now, I can't remember for sure what engine this was out of, but I'm thinking this was out of one of the diesels. And it might not have been, but that's what I'm thinking. It was out of a diesel engine originally. I rebuilt this engine a couple of years ago. I had another project in mind for it, and I didn't use it in that particular project. And so I'm going to go ahead and use it in this Hornby engine, as it's set up identical to the Hornby engine, which only had this one bar, the one rod from wheel to wheel. And it's a perfect match. Of course, the Hornby wheels, the pre-war, were quite a bit larger than the Marx wheels. But still, the outcome is still the same. We get it on, get it running, get everything matched up, lined up. It's going to be a nice looking engine and a nice performing engine. And I like the meld of Hornby and Marx. They just seem to go together so well. All right, now, as I said, I've redone this motor. I'm still going to oil it because it's been sitting and hasn't been oiled. I did test it, make sure it was still running, and it does. It runs decently. It runs good. And so let's see what we've done so far. Okay, guys, let's try this. So what I've done, first of all, I took the motor, set it in, to see how I was going to have to hook it up. And one, Hornbys have these screws set in the chassis of the body, in the front and the back. If you can see that or not, that's right there. One there and one there. And those are usually what I use to hook up the Marx motors. I'm going to use the front one today But because we have a top bracket on this motor, on this particular motor, I went ahead and drilled a hole into the top of the Hornby shell. And that's going to be our main bracket for holding. And then we'll have a front bracket. And I modified this stanchion back here, which is actually part of the firewall, and so that it would go in between here, and ordinarily I would hook it into these slots. But I fixed this, modified it so that it would go in between here, and it will keep this from turning. The screw in the top will hold it in place, and then the front, I built a bracket for the front, and that will secure it in the front and also give it more support. And I'll show you that bracket here in a minute. I've got it laying up here, but you can see from the inside the hole that I made. And I had to, on the inside of the boiler, there's a couple of surfaces, one here and one here, that stick out normally on the Hornby motors, and it helps support the motor, keeps the motor from going side to side. Well, that's what I made this for, and it sits down in between the chassis of the motor and keeps the rear end from going from side to side. And so I had to bend these down to get them out of the way so that they didn't make any contact with the gears or anything in the motor. So that's another modification that I made. Slight modifications, but necessary. Okay. This is the bracket that I made. You see it has two holes here, one here, and a hole down here. This hole mounts to the chassis. These two allow me to mount this to the motor itself. So I'm going to paint this before I actually mount it onto the motor. I want to go ahead and paint it black. And then we'll go ahead and mount this to the motor. Then we'll set the motor in place. I'm going to go ahead and oil it up now. Just put a couple of drops. Of oil on it. And give it time to soak while we put it together and other things. Now, ordinarily, I would either make some kind of restoration to the body, in which I am going to make some. It has some minor scratches. The paint is old, and so it's kind of dull. And I'm going to, the shell has been cleaned, but it needs to be really a fresh wash. And so I'll probably do that also. Get too much oil on it. Let me see. Better go ahead and some oil in those. Try to work a little oil in those bearings too. Those axle bearings. Okay. Too much oil just makes a big mess. You got oil all over your tracks. You got oil wherever it's sitting because the oil runs off. I think maybe, even though I wasn't trying to, I might have got a little bit too much oil on it this time. That motor is good and tight. Just want to get some of that oil kind of where it needs to go, so it's not just all on the surfaces. All right. So for now, nope. Get out our trusty brush. Find our black paint. Good luck with that. I'm going to paint this all up and I'm going to let it dry. While this is drying, I'm going to go ahead and wash this engine shell again and let it dry. And we'll come back. Okay, we're back. Well, I decided while I was, after I washed it, while I was waiting on that piece to dry, I decided to go ahead and do some touch-up on it. And so I repainted the top, repainted this area down here, and repainted the tail on it, on the coal end. You can see it. Unwrap it. And I've got some parts ready for it. Okay, so I took the paper off, and as I said, I touched this up. I repainted that. I repainted the end of the cab, this backside. So it was kind of messed up. After I washed it again, it really faded and had a couple of like stain spots in it. The rest of it came out nicely. Really pleased with that. I went ahead and started adding the handrails. I put the two on this side. I've still got to yet put the two on the other side. I went ahead and touched up the detail on the shell itself, repainted that. Little detail there, touched up this where it was really worn on both sides. Touched up the black on the nose of the boiler and the smokestack. And as I said, I touched up this front plate. On the chassis assembly. It's a little different color, but until I can get this dark olive green, it'll work. Now, as you can see, I still haven't got the rails on this side. I have them cut here and ready to put on. So we'll get those on. I went ahead and mounted my front and rear trucks. Now, one truck is a Marx truck, and I modified it to work on here. And I had to, this is actually a pony truck off of a Lionel engine. And I rebent it and did a little modification to it so that it would work on here. I also took off this part here. I really don't know what you call it. I guess it's some kind of guard. And it actually went like this. And it would have been under this. Well, actually, this would have set like kind of like this. If I can get it back over there. Like this. And I went ahead and took it off because it was just in the way. Kind of posed a problem using this type of rear truck. Now, of course, it's not going to be original Hornby, because the only thing that is original is the shell itself. And outside of removing that one piece, the shell itself is totally original, except for the handrails and the removal of that one piece I just showed you. Also, I went ahead and made a modification to the boiler front. And I went ahead and drilled out where the like clock hands were. And I'm going to go ahead and put a light in there. I'm going to use a digital. And I'm going to go ahead and put this light in. And I tested it to see how it would look, and it actually looks pretty good. To be such a small light, it throws out a lot of light. And I'm using the orange bulb instead of the white bulb, as I just wanted to see really how that orange light was going to look. And just on a test, it looks pretty good. So we're going to be putting the light in also. So we got the light, the handrails. Still have to make some adjustment on the front and rear trailing trucks. And get the motor mounted. I'm going to go ahead and attach this. I've just got it setting on there. This is that plate that I made to hold our engine in. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and finish assembling it. And then I will probably do whatever adjusting and touch-up needs to be done. All right. Guys, that's all I have for you. This is G-Man segment, signing off for now. And as always, happy and rails, as I always say, until next time. You enjoy working on your trains, your railroad, and you enjoy custom building, remodeling, refinishing, refurbishing, reconstruction, whatever it is that you enjoy doing to your trains and with your trains, whether it's just running them around the layout or working on your layout, whatever it is, it should be fun and you should have happy rails. That's all for now. This is G-Man. Be sure to tune in for part 2, day 3 of the rebuild of the Hornby 2221 engine. All right. God bless. Bye for now.